The 1970s, a decade of transformation in America. The optimism of the 60s faded, replaced by doubt and questioning. Watergate and Vietnam left people skeptical of authority. This uncertainty shaped music, fashion, and culture. Rock bands like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd pushed boundaries, while disco brought people together on the dance floor. Singer-songwriters like Joni Mitchell and James Taylor shared deeply personal stories. Music became a mirror for a generation searching for meaning. Fashion was bold. Bell-bottoms, platform shoes, and wild patterns. People used style to express freedom and individuality, breaking from the conformity of earlier decades. The counterculture of the 60s evolved. Young people explored new ideas about spirituality, community, and personal freedom. Many sought meaning outside traditional institutions. Experimentation became common, and marijuana emerged as a symbol of this cultural shift. For many, it was a tool for opening minds and connecting with others. The 70s were about breaking old rules and finding new ways to live. Beneath the surface, a deeper shift was underway, a search for authenticity in a chaotic world. The era's music, fashion, and attitudes reflected a desire for change. People wanted to stand out, to be heard, to be different. The 70s were a visual and cultural rebellion. It was a decade defined by the search for freedom and identity, and at the heart of it all, marijuana became a quiet symbol of that rebellion. In the 70s, marijuana was more than a drug. It was a statement. Smoking weed was an act of quiet defiance, a way to reject the old rules. Passing a joint built community and trust among the youth. Marijuana fueled creativity, conversation, and a new perspective on life. Myths and fears about marijuana were everywhere, fueled by government propaganda and old films like Reefer Madness. The official story painted marijuana as a dangerous gateway to ruin. But for most, it was a mild, social experience, relaxing, fun, and far from the menace described by authorities. This disconnect deepened distrust in government and media. The real danger wasn't the plant, but the illegal market that surrounded it. The gateway theory ignored the reality prohibition forced people into contact with dealers selling harder drugs. Most users saw marijuana as harmless, and the government's warnings as out of touch. The plant became a symbol of resistance to control and misinformation. Marijuana united a generation searching for truth and authenticity. It was a quiet protest, a shared ritual, and a catalyst for change. In the 70s, marijuana was the counterculture's favorite plant, and a challenge to the status quo. The 70s weren't just about marijuana. Hard drugs cast a darker shadow. Heroin use spread, addiction became visible, and cities struggled with the fallout. Cocaine exploded in popularity, glamorized in discos and Hollywood, but its danger soon became clear. Addiction destroyed lives, families, and careers. The illegal market made no distinction between marijuana and hard drugs. Buying weed could mean exposure to heroin or cocaine, creating dangerous crossovers. No quality control meant users risked toxic substances and unknown pills. Addiction was criminalized, not treated as a health issue. People needing help feared arrest and stigma. The war on drugs pushed users into the shadows, making everything riskier. The rise of hard drugs was fueled by prohibition's failures. The system punished curiosity and desperation alike. The 70s drug scene was a world of extremes, benign marijuana use on one side, devastation on the other. The illegal market blurred the lines, exposing everyone to greater danger. Prohibition didn't solve the problem. It made it worse. The decade's drug crisis was as much about policy as it was about substances. The lesson: criminalization breeds chaos, not safety. President Nixon's war on drugs changed everything in the 70s. Drug use became a crime, not a health issue. The DEA was created, and marijuana was classified as a Schedule I drug. No medical use, high abuse potential. Nixon ignored his own commission's advice to decriminalize marijuana. The result: mass arrests, especially of young people and communities of color. A criminal record for marijuana possession ruined lives and futures. The law was enforced unequally, deepening social and racial divides. Prohibition fueled a massive black market, enriching criminal organizations. Instead of solving the drug problem, the war on marijuana made it worse. Money that could have funded schools and healthcare went to traffickers. The justice system was overwhelmed with non-violent offenders. The war on drugs failed to protect society. It fractured it. The 70s tough-on-drugs approach left a legacy of injustice and unintended consequences. Imagine if marijuana had been legal in the 70s. Regulated stores could have ensured product safety and quality, age restrictions and labeling would have protected consumers, legalization would have separated marijuana from the hard drug market, closing the so-called gateway. Fewer people would have been exposed to dangerous substances or criminal networks. Tax revenue from legal sales could have funded education, treatment, and public health. Honest, science-based drug education would have replaced fear tactics. Addiction could have been treated as a health issue, not a crime. Legalization would have reduced stigma and encouraged people to seek help. Doctors and scientists could have studied marijuana openly. The government could have focused on real solutions, not punishment. A legal market would have been safer, smarter, and more compassionate. The 70s could have led the way to a better drug policy. Legalizing marijuana in the 70s would have changed everything. It would have rebuilt trust between citizens and government. Drug policy could have been based on facts, not fear. Laws would distinguish between substances by actual risk. Police and courts could focus on real crime, not non-violent users. Billions spent on enforcement could have gone to communities and education. The justice system would be fairer and more efficient. Personal freedom would be respected. Adults making their own choices. The government's role would shift from moral enforcer to public safety regulator. This change could have prevented decades of costly, destructive drug wars. A more sensible, free society was possible, if only policy had followed evidence. This alternate history teaches us the cost of fear-based policies. The war on drugs created violence, mass incarceration, and mistrust. Harm reduction, not prohibition, is the smarter path. Legalizing marijuana would have separated soft and hard drug markets, saved lives and generated resources for treatment. Criminalization destroyed families and wasted trillions. Treating addiction as a health issue is more effective and humane. Today's reforms are a response to past failures. States that legalized cannabis saw benefits, not chaos. The past that never was can guide us toward evidence-based, compassionate policies. A better future is possible if we learn from history.